Before we begin, please note that the information provided in this video is for educational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have seen in this presentation. You see it first in the shower drain. A tangled clump of hair that seems just a little bit bigger than yesterday. Then you see it on your pillowcase in the morning. A few extra strands scattered where you slept. You brush your hair, and the brush seems to fill up faster than it used to. And a quiet, nagging question starts to form in the back of your mind. Is this normal? Or is something I'm doing every single day secretly sabotaging my hair? If that feeling sounds familiar, you are far from alone. Right now in the United States, over 80 million men and women are dealing with some form of hair loss or thinning. It's an epidemic of frustration that has fueled a multi-billion-dollar industry. We spend a fortune on thickening shampoos, volumizing mousses, expensive serums, and biotin supplements, all in the hope of reclaiming the hair we once had. We follow the instructions on the bottle, we try the latest viral hair mask, and yet for so many of us the problem persists. The hair stays limp, the shedding continues, and the confidence drops. But what if the answer isn't in a bottle you buy at the store? What if the real culprits are hiding in plain sight, woven into the very fabric of our modern American lifestyle? We're talking about the silent saboteurs, the everyday habits, foods, and even environmental factors that are quietly waging a war on your hair follicles without you even realizing it. These are the things that no topical treatment can fix, because the problem isn't on your scalp, it's rooted in your daily routine. Over the next few minutes, we are going to pull back the curtain on the most common, yet often overlooked lifestyle habits that could be directly affecting your hair health. We're not just going to tell you what they are. We're going to explain the science behind why they have such a powerful impact. We'll explore how your morning coffee routine could be stunting hair growth, how the tap water in your city might be making your hair brittle, and how the unique pressures of the American work culture can literally cause your hair to fall out. By the end of this journey, you will have a clear, actionable roadmap to identify the hidden stressors in your own life and start building a foundation for stronger, healthier hair from the inside out. So let's start not on top of your head but on your plate. Because the most fundamental truth of hair health is this: you cannot build a strong, resilient house with flimsy, low-quality materials. Your hair is no different. Each strand is a complex structure built from the nutrients you consume. And unfortunately, the standard American diet, often abbreviated as the SAD diet, is a recipe for disaster when it comes to providing those essential building blocks. Think about it. A typical day for many of us might involve a sugary cereal or a pastry for breakfast, a quick fast food lunch, an afternoon pick-me-up from a vending machine, and a processed dinner. While convenient, this diet is a flood of refined carbohydrates, unhealthy fats, and sugar, and it's critically low in the specific vitamins and minerals your hair follicles are starving for. This type of diet creates a state of chronic inflammation in the body, and your hair follicles are incredibly sensitive to this inflammation. It disrupts their growth cycle and can even lead to miniaturization, where the follicles shrink over time, producing finer and weaker hairs until they stop producing hair at all. But it's not just about avoiding the bad stuff. It's about actively and intentionally including the good stuff. Let's break down the absolute non-negotiables your hair needs to thrive. First and most importantly is protein. Your hair is literally made of a protein called keratin. When you don't consume enough protein, your body goes into rationing mode. It has to decide where to send the limited protein it has. Essential functions like repairing tissues and making hormones get top priority. Hair growth? That gets put on the back burner. Your body sees it as a non-essential cosmetic feature. The result is that your hair growth cycle can be shunted into the resting phase, leading to noticeable shedding a few months later. Think of protein as the bricks for your hair. Without enough bricks, construction grinds to a halt. We're talking about high-quality sources like lean meats, fish, eggs, beans, lentils, and Greek yogurt. Next up is iron. Iron is the unsung hero of hair health. It's a crucial component of hemoglobin, the protein in your red blood cells that carries oxygen. Your hair follicles have a massive demand for oxygen to fuel their rapid cell division and growth. If you're low on iron, a condition that's incredibly common, especially for women in the US, it's like trying to run a factory with constant power outages. The oxygen supply sputters, and the follicles can't function optimally. This can lead to a type of hair shedding called telogen effluvium. Foods rich in iron include red meat, spinach, lentils, and fortified cereals. And a pro tip: consuming iron-rich foods with a source of vitamin C, like oranges or bell peppers, dramatically increases your body's ability to absorb it. Then we have zinc. Zinc is the master repairman for your body. It plays a vital role in hair tissue growth and repair. It also helps keep the oil glands around the follicles working properly. A deficiency in zinc has been directly linked to hair loss because without this mineral, the structural integrity of the hair follicle weakens. Think of it as the mortar holding the protein bricks together. You can find zinc in foods like oysters, beef, pumpkin seeds, and lentils. And of course, we can't forget the B vitamins, especially biotin. Biotin often gets all the attention in hair supplements, and for good reason. It helps create the amino acids that form keratin, but it's part of a larger family of B vitamins like B12 and folate that are all essential for creating red blood cells, which, as we know, carry that life-giving oxygen to your scalp and follicles. Now, here's a critical point that gets overlooked in our quest for the perfect diet: hydration. It sounds almost too simple to be true, but chronic dehydration is a major enemy of healthy hair. Your body is over 60% water, and every single cell, including the cells that make up your hair follicles, needs water to function. When you're dehydrated, your body pulls water from non-essential tissues to support vital organs. Guess what's on the non-essential list? Your hair. Dehydration can immediately halt the hair growth process. It leads to hair that is dry, brittle, and far more prone to breakage. A simple guideline many experts suggest is to drink half your body weight in ounces of water per day. If you weigh 150 pounds, that's 75 ounces of water. It's one of the easiest and most impactful changes you can make. Finally, let's talk about the healthy traps that are particularly prevalent in American wellness culture. In an effort to lose weight, many people jump into extreme restrictive diets. They might drastically cut calories or eliminate entire food groups, like fats. While the intention is good, the result for your hair can be catastrophic. Crash dieting sends a shockwave of stress through your body, signaling a state of famine. Your body's response is to shut down all non-essential energy expenditures, and hair growth is at the top of that list. Furthermore, cutting out healthy fats is a huge mistake. Omega-3 fatty acids, found in foods like salmon, avocados, and walnuts, are crucial for nourishing the scalp and adding that natural, healthy shine to your hair. When you deprive your body of these, you're not just depriving it of calories. You're depriving your hair of its fundamental support system. True hair health starts with a balanced, nutrient-dense diet, not a cycle of restriction and deprivation. So let's pivot from what you shouldn't do to what you absolutely should be doing. Let's talk about building, not just maintaining. Because a truly resilient head of hair isn't built on a foundation of less. It's built on a foundation of more. More of the right things. This brings us to our next major lifestyle habit: overlooking the specific micronutrients your hair is crying out for. You might be eating, but are you eating for your hair? Think of your hair follicles as tiny high-performance factories. They are working 24/7 to produce one of the most complex biological materials, hair. And just like any factory, they need a specific list of raw materials to operate. If even one key material is missing from the assembly line, production slows down, or the final product comes out weak and flawed. First on that list is iron. In the United States, iron deficiency is one of the most common nutritional deficiencies, especially among women, and it has a direct, scientifically documented link to a type of hair shedding called telogen effluvium. When your body is low on iron, it has to make a tough executive decision. It needs that iron to create hemoglobin, the protein in your red blood cells that carries oxygen to your vital organs, your brain, your heart, your lungs. Guess what's at the bottom of the priority list? Your hair follicles. Your body, in its infinite wisdom, says, we can live without perfect hair, but we can't live without oxygen. So it diverts iron away from the hair follicles to support more critical functions. The result? Your hair growth cycle gets pushed into the shedding phase prematurely. You start seeing more hair in the shower drain, on your pillow, in your brush. It's not just in your head. It's a biological SOS signal. Foods like spinach, lentils, chickpeas, and lean red meat are packed with iron. But here's a pro tip. Iron from plant-based sources is harder for the body to absorb. You can supercharge that absorption by pairing it with vitamin C. Think a squeeze of lemon on your lentil soup, or bell peppers with your spinach salad. Next up, the celebrity of hair nutrients, biotin. You see it advertised everywhere, in every hair supplement. But what does it actually do? Biotin, or vitamin B7, is essential for producing keratin, the very protein that makes up your hair, skin, and nails. A deficiency can lead to brittle, weak hair that snaps easily. Now, a true biotin deficiency is rare in the US, but having suboptimal levels is not. If your diet is heavy on processed foods, you might not be getting enough. Your body doesn't store biotin, so you need it in your diet regularly. We're talking about foods like eggs. Make sure you eat the yolk, almonds, salmon, and sweet potatoes. It's the simple whole foods that keep this keratin factory running smoothly. And that brings us to the cornerstone of hair health: protein. Your hair is literally made of protein. If you're not eating enough protein, you are not giving your body the building blocks it needs. Period. This is especially critical for people on certain plant-based diets who aren't carefully planning their meals, or for anyone drastically cutting calories. When protein intake is low, your body goes into conservation mode. It starts rationing protein, and just like with iron, hair growth is one of the first non-essential processes to be shut down. Think of it like a city facing a power shortage. The first things to lose power are the streetlights in the park and the decorative fountains. The hospitals and emergency services stay on. Your hair is the decorative fountain. It's beautiful, but it's not essential for immediate survival. Your body will sacrifice it to keep your organs and muscles functioning. So, ensuring you get adequate protein from sources like chicken, fish, Greek yogurt, beans, and quinoa is non-negotiable. Let's not forget zinc. Zinc plays a vital role in hair tissue growth and repair. It also helps keep the oil glands around the follicles working correctly. In fact, hair loss is a classic symptom of zinc deficiency. And here's the kicker. Many popular American diets, high in refined grains and sugar, are often low in zinc. You find this powerhouse mineral in foods like oysters, beef, pumpkin seeds, and lentils. It's another piece of the puzzle that's often missing from the modern plate. Now, let's talk about something many of us believe is the pinnacle of health, but could be silently sabotaging our hair. This is our third major habit: falling for the hidden sugar in healthy drinks. I'm talking about that expensive green juice you grab on your way to work, the fruit smoothie you blend up thinking it's a virtuous breakfast, or even some kombuchas and flavored yogurts. We see organic, natural, cold-pressed, and we automatically assume it's good for us. But many of these products are absolute sugar bombs. When you consume a high amount of sugar, especially in liquid form without the fiber to slow it down, your blood sugar spikes. This causes your body to release a flood of insulin. Over time, this can lead to chronic inflammation and insulin resistance. Think of inflammation as a low-grade, persistent fire inside your body. This fire can disrupt the delicate ecosystem of your scalp and damage your hair follicles. It puts your whole system under stress, and as we've learned, when the body is stressed, non-essential things like hair growth suffer. Furthermore, high insulin levels can trigger an increase in androgens, which are male hormones present in both men and women. These androgens can bind to receptors in your hair follicles, causing them to shrink in a process called miniaturization. This is the hallmark of androgenetic alopecia, or pattern baldness. So that healthy morning smoothie, if it's packed with pineapple, mango, banana, and a splash of apple juice, could be contributing to a hormonal environment that is hostile to your hair. Consider the popular juice cleanse. People do it to detox and lose weight, but what are they actually doing? They're often consuming very little protein, almost no healthy fats, and a massive amount of sugar from fruit juice, all while depriving their body of the fiber that would normally accompany that fruit. It's a perfect storm for stressing your system and depriving your hair follicles of the protein and minerals they desperately need to function. It's a classic example of a health trend that completely ignores the fundamental biology of our bodies. Let's move on to something even more fundamental, something so basic we often forget its profound impact. Habit number 4. Chronic dehydration. In the US, we are a nation of coffee, soda, and energy drink consumers. We often reach for these beverages throughout the day, believing we are hydrating, when in reality, many of them can have a diuretic effect. A single strand of your hair is composed of about 25% water. When you're dehydrated, that lack of moisture is reflected in your hair. It becomes dry, brittle, and far more susceptible to breakage. But it goes deeper than that. Your scalp, the garden from which your hair grows, needs water to stay healthy and supple. Dehydration can lead to a dry, flaky scalp, which can create an environment that impedes healthy hair growth and can even exacerbate issues like dandruff. Proper hydration is also crucial for transporting nutrients. All those amazing vitamins and minerals we just talked about, the iron, the zinc, the biotin, they need a delivery system. Water is the superhighway that carries those nutrients to your cells, including the cells in your hair follicles. If that highway is dry and cracked, the deliveries won't make it. Think of a plant. When you forget to water a plant, what's the first thing you notice? The leaves become limp, dry, and brittle. They lose their shine and vibrancy. Your body is no different. It will pull water from non-essential parts, like your hair and skin, to support your vital organs. Drinking enough water throughout the day isn't just a wellness cliché. It's a foundational requirement for every single cellular process, including the complex process of growing a single strand of hair. It's not about chugging a gallon at night. It's about consistent, steady hydration that keeps your internal systems running optimally. So we've covered the internal environment, the fuel you put in your body, and the water that carries that fuel. But what about the external forces? The things we do to our hair every single day, often thinking we're helping, could be the very source of the problem. And that starts the moment you step into the shower. That scalding hot water feels incredible, doesn't it? It's a moment of pure steamy bliss at the start of a long day, or the end of a stressful one. We associate that heat with cleanliness, with melting away the grime and tension. But for your hair, that daily blast of heat is a declaration of war. Think of your scalp as a finely tuned ecosystem. It produces a natural waxy oil called sebum. This isn't a flaw, it's a feature. Sebum is your body's own custom-made, perfectly balanced conditioner and protector. It waterproofs the hair shaft, keeps it flexible, and creates a protective barrier on your scalp. When you unleash incredibly hot water onto your head, you're essentially using a solvent. It strips away every last bit of that protective sebum. Your scalp panics. It senses the dryness, the vulnerability, and its emergency response system kicks into high gear, screaming, "We're under attack. Produce more oil now." This creates a vicious cycle that so many Americans are trapped in. Your scalp overproduces oil to compensate, making your roots greasy within a day. Simultaneously, the lengths of your hair, now stripped bare of their natural protection, become dry, brittle, and prone to breakage. You end up with the frustrating combination of greasy roots and straw-like ends. You feel like you have to wash your hair again the very next day to get rid of the grease, and the cycle repeats, each time making the problem a little worse. The solution isn't to take freezing cold showers. It's about finding the happy medium. Lukewarm water is all you need to effectively cleanse your hair and scalp without sending it into a state of shock. And here's a pro tip. At the very end of your shower, try a quick 15-second rinse with cool, not icy water. This simple step helps to seal the hair cuticle, which is like the outer layer of shingles on a roof. A sealed cuticle lays flat, reflecting more light, which means more shine, and it locks in the moisture from your conditioner, making your hair feel smoother and more manageable. But even if you get the water temperature just right, there's an invisible enemy flowing through the pipes of over 85% of American homes. An enemy that can make your expensive shampoos and conditioners feel completely useless. I'm talking about hard water. The term sounds aggressive, but it simply means the water has a high concentration of dissolved minerals, primarily calcium and magnesium. If you live in places like Las Vegas, Phoenix, or large swaths of the Midwest and Southwest, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You see the evidence every day as chalky white residue on your faucets and shower doors. Now imagine that same residue building up on every single one of your 100,000 hair strands. This mineral buildup creates an invisible film on your hair. It's like trying to put lotion on your hands while wearing rubber gloves. Your conditioner, your hair masks, your leave-in treatments, they can't penetrate that mineral barrier. They just sit on the surface, weighing your hair down without actually providing any moisture. The result? Hair that feels perpetually dry, dull, and straw-like no matter what you do. It tangles easily, looks lifeless, and can even feel sticky or gummy when wet. For those who color their hair, hard water is a nightmare. The mineral deposits can interfere with the color molecules, causing your expensive salon color to become brassy, faded, or discolored in record time. So what can you do? You can't exactly change the municipal water supply. The most effective long-term solution is a shower head filter. These are surprisingly affordable and easy to install, no plumber needed. They work by filtering out a significant portion of those minerals, as well as things like chlorine, which is also incredibly drying for hair. The difference can be noticeable after just one wash. A more immediate, though less permanent, solution is to incorporate a clarifying or chelating shampoo into your routine, once a week or a couple of times a month. A regular shampoo cleanses dirt and oil. A chelating shampoo contains ingredients that bind to those stubborn mineral deposits and wash them away. effectively hitting the reset button on your hair. It's like a deep clean that allows your other products to finally do their job. Now let's say you've perfected your water temperature, and you've dealt with the hard water. You grab your shampoo. What do you do next? For millions of us, the instinct is the same. Squeeze a giant dollop into our palm, slap it on the very top of our head, and then work it into a massive sudsy lather, scrubbing furiously from root to tip. We've been taught that more foam equals more clean. But this technique is one of the most common causes of mechanical damage to our hair. Your hair is at its most fragile when it's wet. The water causes the hair shaft to swell, and the cuticle layer lifts up slightly, making it incredibly susceptible to friction and stretching. When you pile all your hair on top of your head and scrub it together like you're washing a dirty rug, you're creating a tangled, matted mess. You're causing friction that roughs up the cuticle, leading to frizz and dullness, and you're stretching the hair strands past their breaking point, leading to split ends and breakage. The truth is, only your scalp really needs to be shampooed. That's where the oil, dead skin cells, and product buildup reside. The ends of your hair are typically drier and more delicate. They don't need direct, aggressive cleansing. The proper technique is to squeeze a quarter-sized amount of shampoo into your hands and emulsify it with a little water first. Then, using the pads of your fingers, never your nails, which can scratch your scalp and cause damage, gently massage the shampoo directly onto your scalp. Work in small circular motions covering the front, back, and sides. Focus on the cleansing massage for a good minute. When you rinse, the suds will run down the lengths of your hair, and that is more than enough to gently cleanse them without causing unnecessary friction or stripping them of moisture. It's a small shift in habit, but it fundamentally changes how you treat your hair, from an act of aggression to one of gentle care. This leads us to the final shower habit we need to talk about, the frequency. There's a deeply ingrained cultural belief in the US that we need to wash our hair every single day to be clean. But as we discussed with the hot water issue, this can be the very thing creating the problem you're trying to solve. If your hair is greasy by the end of the day, it's often not because you're naturally an oily person. It's because your scalp is in a state of perpetual overproduction from being stripped daily. By washing less frequently, say every other day or even every 3 days, you give your scalp a chance to recalibrate. It learns that it doesn't need to produce oil at an emergency rate. The first week or two of this transition can be a little tough as your scalp adjusts. This is where dry shampoo becomes your best friend. But there's a trick to it. Most people wait until their hair is a greasy mess and then spray a cloud of white powder on top, which just creates a sticky paste. The right way to use dry shampoo is preemptively. On the morning of your second day, before your hair even looks greasy, flip your hair over and spray it lightly at the roots. Let it sit for a minute or two to absorb any oils that will be produced throughout the day, and then massage it in with your fingers. This strategy keeps your hair looking and feeling fresh far longer. You can also embrace different hairstyles. Day 1 hair is great for wearing down. Day 2 or 3 hair often has more texture and grip, making it perfect for braids, ponytails, or buns. It's not about being unclean. It's about breaking a dependency and restoring your scalp's natural, healthy balance. It's about understanding that what we've been told is clean might actually be a state of distress. You've navigated the minefield of the shower. You've used lukewarm water, you've gently cleansed only your scalp, and you're on your way to a healthier washing schedule. You step out of the shower feeling accomplished, reaching for your towel to dry off. But in that simple automatic motion, you might be about to commit the single most damaging act of your entire routine. The comfortable, fluffy tool you trust to be gentle could be causing more breakage in 10 seconds than everything else we've just discussed, and it's hanging in your bathroom right now. Yes, we're talking about your bath towel. That big, absorbent terry cloth rectangle that feels so good against your skin is an absolute nightmare for your hair. Think about it. When your hair is wet, it's in its most fragile, vulnerable state. The outer layer, the cuticle, which normally lies flat like shingles on a roof, is swollen and raised. Each one of those tiny, coarse loops on your cotton towel is like a little hook, perfectly designed to snag, catch, and rip at those raised cuticles. Now, what's the first thing most of us do after stepping out of the shower? We take that towel and we go to town. We rub vigorously back and forth, trying to get the water out as fast as possible. This aggressive friction is like taking a piece of fine sandpaper to a silk thread. It shreds the cuticle, creating instant frizz and split ends. Then for the grand finale, we often gather our hair up, twist it into a tight, heavy turban, and clamp it on top of our head. This action puts immense tension on the hair follicles at the root, which are already in a softened, vulnerable state from the warm water. It pulls and strains the hair shaft, leading to breakage not just at the ends but all along the length. You are literally creating weak points in your hair that will snap days or weeks later. The solution is surprisingly simple and might already be in your closet. Ditch the terry cloth towel for your hair. The gold standard is a microfiber hair towel. These towels have a much smoother surface and are incredibly absorbent. They wick moisture away from the hair without the need for any harsh rubbing. You simply blot or gently squeeze sections of your hair. For those with curly or wavy hair, this is the foundation of plopping, a technique that encourages curl definition without creating frizz. And if you don't want to buy another product, here's the ultimate life hack. Use an old, soft cotton t-shirt. The flat weave of the jersey knit fabric is gentle on the hair cuticle and will absorb excess water just as effectively. By making this one simple switch, from rubbing with terry cloth to gently squeezing with microfiber or a t-shirt, you can eliminate a massive source of mechanical damage from your routine. But what if the damage isn't just happening on the outside? What if you're using the gentlest towels, the most nourishing products, and your hair is still looking thin, dull, and lifeless? The real battle for your hair's future might be fought not in your bathroom, but on your dinner plate. The truth is, you can't build a strong house with faulty materials, and your hair is no different. It is literally built from the nutrients you consume, and the typical American diet is often a blueprint for disaster. Let's talk about the villains first. The number one enemy of healthy hair hiding in your diet is sugar and refined carbohydrates. When you consume a high-sugar meal, think soda, white bread, pastries, or even some breakfast cereals, your body experiences a rapid spike in blood sugar. To combat this, your pancreas releases a flood of insulin. This insulin spike can trigger an increase in androgens, which are male hormones that both men and women have. Androgens can bind to receptors in your hair follicles, causing them to shrink in a process called miniaturization. Over time, these follicles produce finer, weaker hairs, and may eventually stop producing hair altogether. Think of sugar as pouring fuel on the fire of inflammation throughout your body, and your scalp is no exception. Chronic inflammation can disrupt the hair growth cycle and create an environment where hair simply cannot thrive. The second villain is a diet high in processed foods and unhealthy fats. These foods are often stripped of the very vitamins and minerals your hair desperately needs, and they are loaded with things that cause harm. Trans fats, found in many fried and packaged foods, can increase inflammation and have been linked to a host of health problems that indirectly affect your hair. Furthermore, a diet reliant on processed junk can compromise your gut health. If your digestive system isn't functioning optimally, you can't properly absorb the nutrients from the healthy foods you do eat. You could be eating a side salad with your pizza, but your body may not be getting the full benefit of those greens. And perhaps the most dramatic dietary villain is severe calorie restriction. In our culture of quick-fix crash diets, people often cut their calories so drastically that the body goes into survival mode. Your body is incredibly smart. It knows that growing hair is not essential for survival. So when it perceives a famine, it shuts down non-essential processes to conserve energy for vital organs. Hair follicles are one of the first things to get the memo. A large number of follicles are prematurely shifted from the growing phase, anagen, into the resting phase, telogen. Then, about 2 to 3 months later, all of that hair sheds at once. This condition, called telogen effluvium, is one of the most common causes of sudden, diffuse hair thinning, and people are often shocked, never connecting their dramatic hair loss to the extreme diet they went on 3 months prior. So, if that's what we need to avoid, what should we be running towards? Let's build the ultimate hair-healthy plate. The absolute, non-negotiable foundation is protein. Your hair is about 95% a protein called keratin. If you're not consuming enough protein, your body simply does not have the building blocks to create strong hair. It's that simple. Prioritize high-quality sources like lean chicken, fish, eggs, beans, lentils, and Greek yogurt. Next up is the mineral that acts as the oxygen delivery service for your follicles: iron. Iron is a component of hemoglobin, which carries oxygen in your bloodstream. Your hair follicles need a rich, oxygenated blood supply to function and grow. When you're low on iron, which is incredibly common, especially for women in the US, that delivery system falters. Your follicles are essentially starved of oxygen, which can stunt growth and lead to shedding. Excellent sources include red meat, spinach, lentils, and fortified cereals. A pro tip: vitamin C dramatically enhances iron absorption, so pairing your iron-rich foods with things like bell peppers, broccoli, or citrus fruits makes them even more effective. Then we have the dynamic duo of zinc and biotin. Zinc plays a vital role in hair tissue growth and repair. It also helps keep the oil glands around the follicles working correctly. A deficiency in zinc is a well-established cause of hair loss. You can find it in oysters, beef, pumpkin seeds, and lentils. Biotin, a B vitamin, often gets all the hype in hair supplements. While taking extra biotin likely won't do much if you're not deficient, ensuring you have enough is critical for producing keratin. It's found in eggs, nuts, and whole grains. We also can't forget healthy fats, specifically omega-3 fatty acids. While we demonized unhealthy trans fats, these fats are your hair's best friend. They are potent anti-inflammatories, countering the damage from sugar and processed foods. They also nourish the scalp and add shine and elasticity to the hair shaft itself. Fatty fish like salmon, along with walnuts, chia seeds, and flax seeds, are fantastic sources. Finally, you need an army of antioxidants, like vitamin C and E, to protect your follicles. Your body is constantly under attack from free radicals, unstable molecules from pollution, UV rays, and poor diet that cause cellular damage. This is called oxidative stress, and it can age your hair follicles just like it ages your skin. Antioxidants neutralize these free radicals, acting as a personal security detail for your scalp. Find them in abundance in berries, oranges, avocados, almonds, and sunflower seeds. And underlying all of this is the single most important nutrient of all, one we often forget to even classify as a nutrient: water. Every single cell in your body needs water to function, and the cells that build your hair are no exception. Dehydration can immediately halt hair growth. A dry, dehydrated scalp is not a healthy environment for hair to grow. Water is the transport system that delivers all those wonderful nutrients we just discussed to your follicles. If you're not drinking enough, you're essentially creating a traffic jam on the nutrient highway. Swapping out just one or two of those daily sodas or sugary coffees for a glass of water can make a profound difference. We've fortified our bodies from the inside and protected our hair on the outside. But there's an invisible force, a silent saboteur that can undo all of this hard work. It's not on your plate and it's not in your bathroom. It's in your head. And the way most Americans deal with it is creating a hair loss epidemic. That invisible force is chronic stress. And it has become the default operating system for millions of Americans. We wear busy as a badge of honor. We romanticize the hustle, the grind, the sleepless nights spent chasing a deadline or a dream. We've built a culture that celebrates burnout as a sign of dedication. But while your mind is focused on the next big project, your body is quietly keeping score. And your hair is often the first thing to signal that the biological accounts are overdrawn. To understand why, we need to look at our ancient biology colliding with our modern reality. When you perceive a threat, whether it's a tiger in the jungle or an angry email from your boss, your body unleashes a flood of hormones, with the primary one being cortisol. This is your fight or flight response. It's a brilliant survival mechanism designed for short, intense bursts of danger. It sharpens your focus, pumps blood to your muscles, and prepares you to either fight the threat or run from it. In this state of emergency, your body has to make choices. It has to decide what's essential for immediate survival and what's not. And in the grand scheme of things, growing a full, luscious head of hair is considered a biological luxury. It's non-essential. Your hair grows in a cycle of 3 main phases. There's the anagen phase, the growth phase, where about 85 to 90% of your hair should be at any given time. This phase can last for years. Then there's the brief catagen or transition phase. And finally, the telogen phase, the resting phase. After a few months in the telogen phase, the hair sheds to make way for a new one. This is why it's normal to lose 50 to 100 hairs a day. Now here's where cortisol, our stress hormone, becomes the villain of our story. When you are under chronic stress, the kind of relentless low-grade pressure that defines so much of American work life, your cortisol levels don't just spike and fall. They stay elevated. Your body thinks the tiger is always lurking just outside the cave. This constant state of high alert sends a powerful signal to your hair follicles. It effectively screams, "Emergency! Shut down all non-essential production." In response, a large number of your hair follicles that were happily in the anagen, or growth phase, are prematurely shocked into the telogen, or resting phase. They just stop growing. They sit there for about 3 months and then all at once they shed. This phenomenon is called telogen effluvium. It's not a slow, gradual thinning. It's a sudden, alarming, and diffuse shedding of hair from all over your scalp. And because of that 3-month delay, most people never connect the hair loss to the stressful period that actually caused it. Consider the case of a young lawyer in New York City. Let's call her Jessica. For 6 months, she was working on the biggest case of her career. We're talking 18-hour days, surviving on coffee and takeout, sleeping with her phone on her chest. The pressure was immense, but she thrived on it. They won the case. There were celebrations, bonuses, a promotion. She felt invincible. Then, 3 months later, it started. First, she noticed more hair than usual in her brush. Then, the drain in her shower started clogging after every wash. Soon, she could see her scalp more clearly under the bright lights of her office bathroom. Panic set in. She thought she had a terrible disease. She went to a dermatologist, ran countless blood tests, and everything came back normal. She was perfectly healthy. Except for one thing. Her body was just now paying the price for the war she had put it through months earlier. Her invincibility was a loan, and her hair was the interest payment. This isn't an isolated story. This is the silent epidemic unfolding in offices, homes, and cities across the United States. We're not just dealing with singular traumatic events. We're dealing with a cultural baseline of stress that is reprogramming our physiology. The constant connectivity, the fear of falling behind, the pressure to maintain a perfect social media presence. It all contributes to elevated cortisol. Your body doesn't know the difference between a looming deadline and a physical threat. The hormonal response is the same. And when that response is triggered day after day, your body logically concludes that it must divert precious energy away from long-term projects like hair growth and use it for the perceived, constant state of crisis. But the impact of stress doesn't stop with telogen effluvium. For some individuals, severe stress can be a potential trigger for something more complex like alopecia areata. This is an autoimmune condition where the body's own immune system gets confused and mistakenly attacks its own hair follicles, leading to patchy, often circular, hair loss. Think of it like this. Stress can act like a system glitch for your internal security forces, causing them to identify your own hair follicles as foreign invaders that need to be eliminated. While the exact cause is a complex mix of genetics and environmental factors, major life stressors are frequently reported before the onset or a flare-up of the condition. Then there's a behavioral component. For some, stress manifests as trichotillomania, a hair-pulling disorder. It's an impulse control issue where a person feels an irresistible urge to pull out their own hair from the scalp, eyebrows, or other areas of the body. It's often a coping mechanism for dealing with uncomfortable feelings like stress, anxiety, tension, or boredom. The act of pulling provides a fleeting sense of relief or gratification, creating a difficult-to-break cycle. Perhaps the most insidious part of this entire process is the vicious feedback loop it creates. You experience a stressful period. A few months later, your hair starts to fall out. Seeing your hair thin is itself an incredibly stressful and emotional experience. That new stress, the anxiety about your appearance, the fear that it won't stop, pours more cortisol into your system. This, in turn, can prolong the shedding phase or even trigger a new wave of it. You become stressed about your hair loss, which causes more hair loss, which causes more stress. It is a psychological trap, and it's one that's incredibly hard to escape when you're also navigating the daily pressures of modern American life. So, we have a culture that normalizes chronic stress, a biology that responds to that stress by shedding hair, and a psychological reaction that pours gasoline on the fire. Seems like an impossible situation. You can't just quit your job, abandon your responsibilities, and move to a monastery. Stress is an unavoidable part of life. Trying to eliminate it entirely is a fool's errand. But what if the goal isn't to eliminate stress? What if it's about changing our body's response to it? What if we could learn to fundamentally shift our physiological state from one of constant, hair-shedding emergency to one of balance and recovery, even while the external pressures remain the same? This isn't about wishful thinking. It's about applied biology. It's about understanding that rest and recovery are not forms of laziness. They are a critical part of a high-performance system. You have the power to interrupt that vicious cycle. You can learn to actively downregulate your stress response and signal to your body that it is safe, that the tiger is gone, and that it's okay to start investing in long-term projects again, like growing your hair. The methods to do this are not complex, but they do require a conscious shift in our daily habits. And the very first step, the foundational tool for taking control of your body's stress chemistry, is something you're already doing right now, at this very moment. But there's a strong possibility you've been doing it inefficiently your entire life, robbing yourself of its true power to calm your nervous system and ultimately protect your hair. I'm talking about the simple, involuntary act of breathing. Every single one of us does it about 22,000 times a day, without a single conscious thought. It's the rhythm of life itself. And yet, for a vast majority of Americans, this fundamental process has been hijacked by the relentless pace of modern life. We've forgotten how to breathe correctly, and this silent epidemic of inefficient breathing is creating a constant, low-grade state of physiological stress that can have a direct and devastating impact on the health of our hair. Think about how you're breathing right now. Is your chest rising and falling? Are your shoulders slightly tensed? If so, you're likely a chest breather. This is a shallow, inefficient way to breathe that primarily uses the smaller muscles in your chest and neck. Biologically, this type of breathing is reserved for emergencies. It's the breathing of the fight-or-flight response. It's how our ancestors breathed when they saw a saber-toothed tiger. It floods the body with adrenaline and cortisol, tenses the muscles, and prepares you for immediate life-or-death action. The problem is, in our 21st century American life, the saber-toothed tiger never leaves. It's just been replaced. It's the non-stop ping of email notifications on your phone. It's the pressure of a looming deadline at work. It's the frustration of being stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic on the 405. It's the anxiety of scrolling through social media and seeing curated, perfect lives that make you question your own. Each of these moments, however small, can trigger that same ancient stress response. We live in a state of perpetual low-level panic, and our breathing reflects that. We're chest breathing our way through the day, sending a constant stream of emergency signals to our brain. So, what does this have to do with the hair on your head? Everything. When your body believes it's in constant danger, it begins a ruthless process of resource allocation. It says, okay, we're under attack. We need all available energy, oxygen, and nutrients for the critical systems, the heart, the lungs, the major muscle groups, so we can run or fight. And what's one of the first systems it considers non-essential for immediate survival? The integumentary system, which includes your hair follicles. Think of your body as the CEO of a major corporation during a crisis. The CEO isn't going to allocate budget for the company picnic or the new office art. They're going to divert all funds to keep the core operations from failing. In this scenario, your hair is the company picnic. The body restricts blood flow to the scalp to send it elsewhere. This means your hair follicles are starved of the vital oxygen and nutrients they need to thrive. Over time, this can lead to weaker, more brittle hair strands. But it gets more direct than that. The primary hormone released during this stress response is cortisol. In short bursts, cortisol is a lifesaver. But when it's chronically elevated from constant chest breathing and low-grade stress, it can disrupt the delicate balance of your entire system. Studies have explored the link between high cortisol levels and the hair growth cycle. It's believed that this hormonal imbalance can prematurely push a significant number of your hair follicles from the anagen, or growth phase, directly into the telogen, or resting phase. For a few months, you might not notice anything. The hair is just resting. But then, all at once, those hairs that were prematurely pushed into the resting phase begin to shed. This is a condition known as telogen effluvium, and it can feel like your hair is falling out in alarming amounts. You see it on your pillow, in the shower drain, on your brush. It's a delayed reaction to a period of high stress, and for many, that period of high stress is simply everyday life, fueled by improper breathing. The good news is that just as you unconsciously learn this inefficient way to breathe, you can consciously learn the right way. The way your body was actually designed to breathe. This is called diaphragmatic breathing, or more simply, belly breathing. The diaphragm is a large, dome-shaped muscle that sits at the base of your lungs. When you were a baby, you breathed perfectly using this muscle. Watch an infant sleep. You'll see their little belly rise and fall with each breath, not their chest. This is the key. Diaphragmatic breathing is the body's built-in off switch for the stress response. It is the most powerful tool you have for manually activating your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. Engaging this system is like sending a message directly to your brain that says, "All clear. The danger has passed. You can stand down." This signal travels up the vagus nerve, a massive nerve that connects your brain to your gut and other organs. When stimulated by deep diaphragmatic breathing, it tells your body to lower cortisol levels, slow your heart rate, and critically for your hair, dilate your blood vessels, increasing blood flow throughout your entire body, including to your scalp. You are literally, with your own breath, reopening the supply lines of nutrients and oxygen to your hair follicles. So how do you do it? It's incredibly simple, but it will feel unnatural at first because you're rewriting decades of programming. The easiest way to learn is to lie on your back with your knees bent. Place one hand on your upper chest and the other hand on your belly, just below your rib cage. Now breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 4. As you inhale, your goal is to make the hand on your belly rise, while the hand on your chest remains as still as possible. This ensures you're using your diaphragm, not your chest muscles. Feel your stomach expand like a balloon. Hold that breath for a moment. Then, exhale slowly through your mouth or nose for a count of 6. As you exhale, feel the hand on your belly fall. That's it. That's one conscious, healing breath. The challenge isn't learning the technique. It's remembering to do it. You can't just decide to switch to belly breathing 22,000 times a day. You have to integrate it into your life with triggers. One of the best methods is what I call the red light reset. Every time you're driving and you stop at a red light, instead of checking your phone or getting frustrated, use that time to take 3 to 5 deep, diaphragmatic breaths. Traffic just became a mindfulness exercise. Another powerful trigger is your phone itself. Make a new rule. Every time you hear a notification, before you reach for your phone, you must take one full diaphragmatic breath. Inhale, expand the belly, exhale, and then you can see who texted. You are using your biggest source of stress as the very cue to de-stress. Aim for just 5 minutes of dedicated practice twice a day. Maybe when you first wake up, before your feet hit the floor, and again in the mid-afternoon when you feel that slump coming on. 5 minutes. That's it. This isn't about adding another overwhelming task to your to-do list. It's about reclaiming a fundamental biological process for your own well-being. By consciously practicing this, you begin to retrain your nervous system. Your default breathing pattern will gradually shift from the shallow, panic chest breathing to the deep, calming belly breathing. The benefits will extend far beyond your hair. You may experience better sleep, improved focus, and a general feeling of calm and control. You're not just helping your hair, you're upgrading your entire operating system. You're taking back control from the chaotic, reactive world around you and grounding yourself in the simple, powerful rhythm of your own breath. But mastering your internal environment with proper breathing is only half the battle. Because even with the calmest nervous system and the lowest cortisol levels, your body is still fighting a daily battle against an invisible force. It's a force that's likely flowing right out of your shower head every single morning, turning one of the most basic elements of hygiene into a potential enemy of your hair. That invisible force is mineral-rich hard water, and over 85% of American households are unknowingly waging this war every time they turn on the tap. It's one of the most common, yet most overlooked saboteurs of hair health in the entire country. Think about it. You invest in high-quality shampoos, expensive conditioners, leave-in treatments, and silk pillowcases. You do everything right on the outside, but the very first thing that touches your hair in your routine, the water itself, could be undoing all of your hard work before you even open the shampoo bottle. So what exactly is hard water? In the simplest terms, it's water that has a high concentration of dissolved minerals, primarily calcium and magnesium. As rainwater travels through the ground, it passes over and through rock formations like limestone, chalk, and gypsum, picking up these mineral ions along the way. While these minerals aren't harmful to drink, in fact, they can contribute to your dietary mineral intake, they can be incredibly problematic for your hair and skin. Imagine trying to wash a greasy pan with soap, but the soap just won't lather. It feels sticky and it leaves a cloudy film on the pan. That's essentially what's happening on your head. The calcium and magnesium ions in hard water react with the fatty acids in your shampoo and conditioner, creating a salt-like precipitate. You might know it by another name, soap scum. That same stuff that leaves a ring in your bathtub is forming a film on every single strand of your hair. This creates a two-pronged attack. First, this mineral film acts like a shield, or a coat of armor around your hair shaft. It blocks moisture from your conditioners and masks from penetrating the hair cuticle. So your hair is literally starving for hydration, even though you're slathering it with moisturizing products. This leads to that classic sign of hard water damage. Hair that feels dry, brittle, and straw-like no matter what you do. It loses its softness, its flexibility, and its shine, because the light can't reflect properly off the rough, mineral-coated surface. The second part of the attack is that this buildup weighs your hair down. It accumulates on the scalp and at the roots, making your hair feel limp, heavy, and greasy, even right after you've washed it. Many people mistake this for having naturally oily hair and respond by washing it more frequently, which only compounds the problem by adding layer upon layer of mineral buildup. It's a vicious cycle. Your hair feels dirty, so you wash it more with hard water, which makes it feel even dirtier and drier. Let's consider a real-world case study. Think of someone, let's call her Jessica, who grew up in Seattle, a city known for its incredibly soft water. Her whole life she had shiny, manageable hair. Then, she gets a job and moves to Phoenix, Arizona, which is notorious for having some of the hardest water in the nation. Within a few months, she's in a state of panic. Her hair, once her pride and joy, is now a constant source of frustration. It's become dull, frizzy, and constantly tangled. Her highlights, which used to last for months, are turning brassy and faded in a matter of weeks. She tries switching shampoos, buying deep conditioners, even getting a new haircut, but nothing works. Jessica's problem isn't her hair or her products. It's her new geographic location. It's the water. This story isn't unique. Millions of Americans experience this when they move from a soft water region, like the Pacific Northwest or New England, to the hard water belt that stretches across the Midwest, the Rockies, and the Southwest. They blame stress, diet, or aging when the primary culprit is flowing directly from their faucet. So how can you tell if hard water is the hidden enemy in your hair care routine? There are several telltale signs. First, as we mentioned, a persistent feeling of dryness and a straw-like texture. Second, a noticeable lack of volume and movement. Your hair just feels heavy and lifeless. Third, your hair gets tangled very easily, both in the shower and out. The mineral deposits create a rough surface, causing strands to snag on each other. Fourth, you might notice your hair color fading much faster than it should. The minerals interfere with the color molecules, stripping them away and often leaving behind a dull, brassy, or greenish tint, especially in lighter hair. And finally, look at your scalp. The same mineral buildup can clog your hair follicles, leading to an itchy, dry, and flaky scalp that can sometimes be mistaken for simple dandruff. Over the long term, this scalp inflammation and follicular blockage can potentially contribute to impeded hair growth and even exacerbate hair thinning. Now, identifying the problem is one thing, but solving it is what truly matters. And the good news is, you are not powerless against hard water. There are several tiers of solutions, ranging from home installations to simple product swaps. The most comprehensive, top-tier solution is a whole-house water softening system. This is an appliance that's installed where the main water line enters your home. It works through a process called ion exchange, essentially trading the hard minerals like calcium and magnesium for soft minerals like sodium. This is the gold standard. It doesn't just benefit your hair. It helps your skin, prevents mineral buildup in your pipes, and makes your appliances like dishwashers and washing machines last longer. While it represents a significant upfront investment, for homeowners in very hard water areas, it can be a transformative long-term solution for their overall home and personal care. But what if you're a renter, or a whole house system isn't in the budget? Don't worry, there's a fantastic and much more accessible option: a showerhead filter. These are devices that you simply screw on between the water pipe and your existing showerhead. They contain filtering media, like KDF or activated carbon, that are specifically designed to reduce chlorine, heavy metals, and some of the minerals that cause hardness. While they may not soften the water to the same degree as a full system, they can make a dramatic and immediate difference in how your hair feels. It's a relatively low-cost experiment that can yield huge results. Just remember that the cartridges need to be replaced every few months to remain effective. Beyond hardware, you can also fight hard water with your hair care products. Look for something called a chelating or clarifying shampoo. The word chelate comes from the Greek word for claw. These shampoos contain ingredients like EDTA that act like little claws, grabbing onto the mineral ions and washing them out of your hair. Using a chelating shampoo once a week, or even once every couple of weeks, can effectively press the reset button, removing all that accumulated buildup and allowing your regular shampoo and conditioner to finally do their jobs. Think of it as a deep detox for your hair. And for those who prefer a more natural approach, a simple apple cider vinegar rinse can be remarkably effective. The mild acidity of the vinegar helps to dissolve some of the mineral buildup on the hair shaft and flatten the cuticle, which increases shine and reduces tangles. A typical dilution is 1 part raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar to about 4 parts water. After shampooing and conditioning, you pour the mixture over your hair, let it sit for a minute or two, and then rinse it out. It's a classic remedy that has stood the test of time for a very good reason. Understanding your water is about understanding your environment. It's about recognizing that your hair's health isn't just a product of what you put on it, but also the foundational elements it's exposed to every single day. By taking control of your water quality, you're removing one of the biggest and most common roadblocks to achieving the healthy hair you've been working so hard for. But even if you've perfected your water, filtering out every last mineral. There's another hidden factor, one that's not on your hair, but in your glass. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry in America, promoted for decades as a guilt-free pleasure, yet for your hair follicles it might be launching a silent, internal assault just as damaging as the hard water we just talked about. I'm talking about artificial sweeteners, specifically, the ones found in diet sodas, zero-sugar energy drinks, and a shocking number of processed foods marketed as healthy options across America. The primary suspect at the center of this controversy? Aspartame. For decades, we've been told it's the perfect solution. All the sweetness, none of the calories. A free lunch. But a growing body of research is asking a critical question. What is the hidden cost of this free sweetness, and could our hair be paying the price? When you consume aspartame, your body breaks it down into 3 components. 2 amino acids, aspartic acid and phenylalanine, and a small amount of methanol. Now, those first 2 are naturally occurring amino acids, but it's the third component, methanol, that raises a red flag for some researchers. Your body metabolizes methanol into formaldehyde. Yes, you heard that right. Formaldehyde, the same chemical used for embalming, a known carcinogen. Now, the FDA and manufacturers are quick to point out that the amount of methanol produced is very small, comparable to what you'd find in a glass of fruit juice. And that is true. The critical difference, however, lies in how it's delivered. In fruit juice, the methanol is bound to pectin, which allows for slow, safe excretion from the body. The methanol from aspartame is a free methanol, meaning it gets absorbed much more quickly. The concern is that even in small chronic doses, this could contribute to a state of systemic inflammation and cellular stress. Think of your hair follicles. They are some of the most metabolically active, rapidly dividing cells in your entire body. They are incredibly sensitive to their environment. When your body is in a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation, it's like trying to grow a garden in soil that's been lightly poisoned. The plants might still grow, but they won't be strong, vibrant, or healthy. They'll be weak, brittle, and more likely to fall out. Some case studies and anecdotal reports have suggested a link between high aspartame consumption and an increase in hair shedding, a condition known as telogen effluvium. The theory is that this internal chemical stress can prematurely push a larger number of hair follicles from their growth phase into their resting or shedding phase. But the story doesn't end with aspartame and formaldehyde. The plot thickens when we look at how these artificial sweeteners impact a part of your body that scientists are now calling our second brain: your gut. Your digestive tract is home to trillions of bacteria, a complex ecosystem known as the gut microbiome. This ecosystem is the command center for your immune system, your mood, and, critically, your ability to absorb nutrients. And it turns out, this delicate internal rainforest doesn't react well to artificial sweeteners. Studies, including a notable one from 2014 published in the journal Nature, have shown that non-caloric artificial sweeteners like saccharin, sucralose, and aspartame can alter the balance of your gut bacteria. They can decrease the population of beneficial bacteria and allow more harmful bacteria to thrive. This imbalance, called dysbiosis, is a recipe for disaster. Why? Because a healthy gut lining is your gatekeeper. It decides what gets into your bloodstream and what stays out. When your gut microbiome is out of whack, this lining can become more permeable, a condition often referred to as leaky gut. This allows undigested food particles and bacterial toxins to leak into your bloodstream, triggering a massive immune response and, you guessed it, more systemic inflammation. But it also directly impacts your hair supply chain. You could be eating the most nutrient-dense diet in the world, packed with biotin, iron, and zinc, all the building blocks for great hair. But if your gut is compromised, you can't properly absorb and utilize those nutrients. You're essentially putting premium fuel into a car with a clogged fuel line. The engine, or in this case your hair follicle, sputters and stalls. It's starved of the very resources it needs to build strong, healthy hair strands. So you have this two-pronged attack: potential cellular stress from metabolic byproducts and a crippled nutrient supply line due to gut dysbiosis. But there's a third, even more insidious mechanism at play, and it has to do with hormones. We drink diet soda to avoid the sugar spike, right? To avoid the insulin roller coaster that comes with regular soda. But here's the twist: our bodies can be tricked. The intensely sweet taste of these artificial chemicals, some are hundreds of times sweeter than sugar, can still signal to the brain that something sweet has arrived. In some individuals, this can trigger what's called a cephalic phase insulin release. Your pancreas releases insulin simply in anticipation of receiving sugar, even if no actual sugar calories arrive. If this happens over and over again, day after day, with every can of diet soda or packet of sweetener in your coffee, it can contribute to insulin resistance. This is a condition where your cells stop responding properly to insulin signals, forcing your pancreas to pump out even more to get the job done. What does this have to do with hair? Insulin resistance is a key player in a host of hormonal imbalances. It's deeply intertwined with conditions like polycystic ovary syndrome, or POS, which is one of the leading causes of female pattern hair loss in the United States. High levels of circulating insulin can signal the ovaries to produce more androgens, or male hormones, like testosterone. These androgens can then be converted into an even more potent form called dihydrotestosterone, or DHT. And DHT is the primary antagonist in the story of hair loss. It binds to receptors in your hair follicles, causing them to shrink, a process called miniaturization. Over time, these follicles produce finer, weaker hairs until they eventually stop producing hair at all. So that harmless diet drink, that guilt-free pleasure, could potentially be part of a chain reaction that disrupts your gut, inflames your system, and throws your hormones completely out of balance, creating a perfect storm for hair thinning and loss. It's not just diet soda either. Check the labels. Aspartame, sucralose, acesulfame, potassium. They are hiding in plain sight. In light yogurts, sugar-free chewing gum, protein bars, powdered drink mixes, and even some condiments. The average American who consciously avoids sugar is often unknowingly consuming these sweeteners multiple times a day. The first step is awareness. Start reading ingredient lists not just for calories or sugar, but for these non-caloric sweeteners. What can you drink instead? The best choice is always filtered water. Make it more interesting with a squeeze of lemon, lime, or even some muddled mint and cucumber. Unsweetened iced tea and herbal teas are fantastic alternatives. If you absolutely need some fizz, opt for plain sparkling mineral water. The goal isn't to live a life devoid of all pleasure, but to retrain your palate. Our taste buds have been hijacked by the hypersweetness of the modern American diet. By slowly reducing your intake of these intense sweeteners, you'll start to appreciate the subtle, natural sweetness in whole foods again. So we've cleaned up our glass, but what about our plate? The next culprit is even more deceptive. It's not hiding in the junk food aisle. It's masquerading as a health food staple in kitchens from California to Maine. It's an oil praised for decades that could be setting your hair follicles on fire from the inside out. The oils in question are industrial seed oils. Think soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil, cottonseed, safflower, and sunflower oil. For the last 50 years, these have been the bedrock of the American diet. We were told to fear butter, to fear lard, to fear the saturated fats our ancestors thrived on. And into that void stepped these cheap, highly processed oils, wearing a halo of heart health. They were clear, light, and marketed as the modern scientific choice. The problem is that science was incomplete, and the consequences of this nationwide dietary experiment are now showing up on our heads. To understand why these oils are so destructive to your hair, we need to talk about two words: omega-6 and omega-3. Both are essential fatty acids, meaning our bodies can't produce them. We have to get them from our diet. Think of them as two different kinds of messengers in your body. Omega-3s, found in things like fatty fish and flax seeds, are generally anti-inflammatory. They send signals to calm things down, to repair, to heal. Omega-6s, on the other hand, are pro-inflammatory. Now, inflammation isn't inherently bad. If you get a cut, you need an inflammatory response to fight off infection and start the healing process. It's a short-term, acute response. The problem arises when the messengers for inflammation vastly outnumber the messengers for calm. Historically, humans consumed a diet with an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio of roughly 1:1, maybe up to 4:1. The modern American diet, thanks in large part to the explosion of these industrial seed oils, has a ratio of anywhere from 20:1 to 50:1. We are sending 20 to 50 times more sound the alarm full-scale emergency signals than everything is okay, stand down signals. This creates a state of chronic low-grade inflammation throughout your entire body. It's a constant simmering fire. And what do you think is one of the first things your body sacrifices when it's under constant systemic attack? Non-essential, high-energy cost systems. Like hair growth. Your hair follicles are incredibly sensitive, metabolically active mini-organs. When your body is flooded with inflammatory signals from an imbalanced omega ratio, it can directly impact these follicles. This inflammation can disrupt the hair growth cycle, pushing follicles prematurely from the anagen, or growth phase, into the telogen or resting phase. This is why you might see excessive shedding. The inflammation can also constrict blood vessels that supply the follicle with vital oxygen and nutrients, essentially starving it from the inside. Over time, this chronic inflammatory state can physically damage the follicle itself, leading to a process called miniaturization, where the hair produced becomes progressively thinner, weaker, and shorter with each cycle. You're not just losing hair. The hair that remains is a shadow of its former self. But the danger doesn't stop there. These oils have another dark secret. They are highly unstable. They are polyunsaturated fats, which means their chemical structure is fragile. When you heat them, which is what we do every time we fry, saute, or bake, they oxidize. They go rancid at a molecular level, creating a storm of free radicals. These are renegade molecules that ricochet around your body, damaging cells, proteins, and even your DNA. This process, called oxidative stress, is a key driver of aging. It ages your skin, it ages your organs, and it absolutely ages your hair follicles, accelerating the very processes that lead to thinning and loss. Now you might be thinking, okay, I'll just stop using that bottle of vegetable oil in my pantry. If only it were that simple. This is the truly insidious part. These oils are not just in your kitchen. They are in nearly everything. That healthy-looking salad dressing you bought at the store? The first ingredient is likely soybean or canola oil.
The mayonnaise?
Same story. The crackers, the chips, the granola bars, the cookies, the store-bought bread? Check the label. They are packed with these inflammatory, unstable fats because they are incredibly cheap and extend shelf life. It's a trap. You go out to eat trying to make a healthy choice. You order the grilled salmon with a side of roasted vegetables. You feel good about it. But the chef almost certainly cooked that beautiful omega-3 rich salmon in cheap, omega-6 heavy canola or soybean oil. The vegetables were tossed in it before roasting. The entire benefit of your healthy meal choice is negated, or even reversed, by the very medium it was cooked in. From the fryer at your favorite fast food joint to the sauté pan at a high-end restaurant, these oils are the default. They are the water that the American food system swims in, and we are all getting soaked. So what is the way out? It begins with a revolution in your pantry. You have to become a vigilant label reader. If you see soybean, corn, canola, cottonseed, safflower, or sunflower oil on an ingredient list, put it back on the shelf. Your mission is to identify and remove. Then you replace them with stable, nutrient-dense fats. For high-heat cooking, searing a steak, roasting vegetables, turn to fats that are stable under heat. Avocado oil is a fantastic choice. Ghee or clarified butter is another excellent option with a high smoke point. Even good old-fashioned butter and tallow, the very fats we were told to fear, are far more stable and less inflammatory than their industrial counterparts. For low-heat applications in salad dressings, nothing beats extra virgin olive oil. Its health benefits are legendary for a reason. For baking, swap out the vegetable oil for melted butter or coconut oil. Making this change is one of the single most impactful things you can do for your overall health, and by extension your hair. You are cutting off the primary fuel source for that chronic simmering fire inside your body. You are dramatically shifting your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio back towards a healthy, ancestral balance. To supercharge this, you actively increase your omega-3 intake. Eat wild-caught fatty fish like salmon and sardines a couple of times a week. Add walnuts, chia seeds, and flax seeds to your diet. You're not just removing the bad. You're flooding your system with the good. You're giving your body the anti-inflammatory tools it needs to calm the fire, repair the damage, and send resources back to systems like hair growth. We've purged our pantries and relearned how to cook. We've tackled the hidden inflammation from our food. But what if the final, most powerful trigger for hair loss isn't on your plate at all? What if it's happening every single night for 8 hours straight in the one place you feel safest? The final habit is not about what you consume, but about something you do or fail to do in the dark. It's a silent process that can either supercharge your hair growth or completely sabotage it, and most of us are getting it profoundly wrong. That silent saboteur is a lack of quality sleep. It's the ultimate paradox of our modern American life. We hustle, we grind, we optimize every waking minute for success, and in doing so, we neglect the single most powerful period of regeneration we have. We see sleep as a necessary evil, a timeout from productivity, rather than the main event for our body's repair crew. And our hair is paying the price. Think of your body as a major corporation. During the day, all departments are running at full tilt: marketing, sales, operations. It's chaotic, high energy, and focused on external goals. But when the office closes for the night, that's when the real magic happens. The maintenance crews come in, the IT department runs its system updates, the janitors clean everything up, and the strategic planners map out the next day. Sleep is when your body's night shift clocks in. This is when your cells repair, hormones are rebalanced, and vital resources are delivered. Your hair follicles are no exception. In fact, they are some of the most metabolically active cells in your entire body, second only to bone marrow. They are in a constant state of division and growth, a process that demands an immense amount of energy and resources. That delivery system relies heavily on the restorative processes that happen exclusively during deep sleep. When you consistently get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep, you're essentially telling the corporate office to cut the budget for the night crew. The first things to go are the non-essential projects. And from a survival standpoint, your body considers hair growth a luxury item. It's not essential for keeping your heart beating or your lungs breathing. So when resources are scarce due to poor sleep, the body diverts energy away from the hair follicles and toward more critical functions. The result? Follicles are prematurely pushed from their growth phase, the anagen phase, into the resting or telogen phase. A few months later, this manifests as increased shedding, thinning, and hair that just won't grow past a certain length. But it gets deeper. Poor sleep sends your stress hormones, particularly cortisol, into overdrive. We've talked about stress before, but chronic sleep deprivation creates a state of perpetual low-grade biological stress. This elevated cortisol is a known enemy of healthy hair, directly impacting the follicle and disrupting the growth cycle. It's the physiological equivalent of having a fire alarm constantly blaring in the background. Nothing can function optimally. Simultaneously, a lack of sleep suppresses the production of melatonin. We think of melatonin as just the sleep hormone, but recent studies have shown it's also a powerful antioxidant that plays a role in protecting the scalp and promoting hair growth. So when you're scrolling on your phone late at night, that blue light isn't just keeping you awake. It's actively suppressing a hormone that could be helping your hair. It's a double-edged sword. High cortisol from stress and low melatonin from poor sleep habits create a perfect storm for hair loss. This is a uniquely American problem in its modern intensity. Our culture glorifies the hustle. The 4-hour sleep night is worn as a badge of honor in some circles. We are a nation running on caffeine and ambition, where "I'm so tired" has become a competitive sport. We work longer hours, have longer commutes, and are more digitally connected, and therefore disconnected from natural sleep cycles than ever before. We've built a society that is fundamentally at odds with our own biology. So how do we reclaim this critical pillar of health? How do we turn our bedrooms from just a place we crash into a sanctuary for regeneration? It starts with treating sleep with the same respect we give our diet or exercise routine. It's not about finding more time, it's about making the time. First, create a non-negotiable wind-down period. For at least 60 minutes before bed, declare a screen-free zone. This is one of the hardest but most impactful changes you can make. The blue light emitted from our phones, tablets, and TVs directly inhibits melatonin production, tricking your brain into thinking it's still daytime. Instead of scrolling through social media feeds that are often designed to make you anxious or outraged, pick up a physical book. Listen to calming music. Do some gentle stretching. Take a warm bath with Epsom salts. The goal is to send a clear signal to your body and mind that the day is over, and it's time to prepare for rest. Second, optimize your environment. Your bedroom should be a cave. Cool, dark, and quiet. The ideal temperature for sleep is surprisingly low, around 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Invest in good blackout curtains to block out streetlights and the early morning sun, especially if you live in a bustling city. If noise is an issue, a white noise machine or even a simple fan can work wonders to drown out disruptive sounds. Your bed should be for sleep and intimacy only. Working from your bed, eating in your bed, or watching TV in your bed blurs the lines and weakens the psychological association your brain has between that space and rest. Third, be consistent. Your body loves routine. It operates on an internal 24-hour clock called the circadian rhythm. Going to bed and waking up at the same time every day, even on weekends, is the single most effective way to stabilize this rhythm. When your body knows when to expect sleep, it starts the wind-down process automatically, making it easier to fall asleep and improving the quality of that sleep. Sleeping in until noon on a Sunday might feel good in the moment, but it's like giving your body a mini dose of jet lag, making it that much harder to get back on track Sunday night. Finally, pay attention to what you consume in the hours before bed. That late afternoon coffee from Starbucks to power through the end of the workday? Caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 6 hours, meaning that a quarter of it could still be circulating in your system 10 to 12 hours later, fragmenting your sleep architecture even if you don't have trouble falling asleep. Avoid heavy, rich meals within 3 hours of bedtime, as the digestive process can interfere with sleep quality. And so we've come to the end of our journey. We started by looking at the invisible minerals in our water and the hidden sugars in our food. We explored how the very hairstyles we choose to express ourselves could be causing damage, and how the relentless American sun beats down on our scalp. We uncovered the insidious effects of chronic stress and the nutrient deficiencies born from a diet of convenience. And now we see how it all culminates in the quiet darkness of our bedrooms. None of these habits exist in a vacuum. They are all interconnected. The stress that makes you crave junk food also destroys your sleep, which in turn elevates your stress hormones even more. The poor diet that leads to nutrient deficiencies means that even when you do sleep, your body doesn't have the raw materials it needs to repair your hair follicles. It's a complex web, and pulling on one thread affects all the others. The purpose of this entire exploration was not to give you a list of things to fear. It was to give you a map. It was to hand you the power of awareness, because you cannot change what you do not understand. You may not be able to change the hard water coming out of your tap tomorrow, but you can get a filter. You may not be able to eliminate all stress from your life, but you can build a sleep sanctuary that helps your body recover from it. It's not about achieving perfection overnight. It's about making one small conscious choice at a time. It's about choosing the whole food meal over the ultra-processed one. It's about choosing a looser hairstyle. It's about choosing to put your phone down an hour earlier tonight. Each choice is a vote for your long-term health. Each one is a deposit into the bank account of your well-being. Your hair is not just a collection of dead protein strands. It is a barometer of your internal health. It is an external manifestation of your internal world. When you start to nourish your body, manage your stress, and honor your need for rest, you're not just doing it for your hair. You're doing it for every single cell in your body. The vibrant, healthy hair that follows is simply a beautiful side effect of a life lived in greater alignment with your biology. The journey to better hair is, and always has been, the journey to a better you.